between Michael and Kayleigh have taken a dark turn after a blogger by the name of Kiki and Kibitz. They exclusively obtained some police reports that were filed by Kayleigh after she claimed that Michael S.A'd her back in September. So the police report stated that this incident happened between Michael and Kayleigh in September 2025, and the report claims that Michael Ubered to Kayleigh's house at 11 p.m. at night. She did an interview with Kiki and Kibitz, and she claims that he just popped up. I guess she and him had been done and she was starting to move on, and she claims that she had blocked him on her phone number, and then he just showed up out of nowhere at 11 p.m. at night. He walks inside her house and he immediately told her 3 children to go to bed and be quiet. Kayleigh claimed she had asked Michael why he was sending her children to bed, which he didn't respond to her, and he then grabbed her phone and threw it, grabbed Kayleigh, took her to her bedroom, and she said that he got her on the bed, started removing her bottoms and her underwear, and left her nude from the waist down, and then he ended up pulling out some rope that he had brought. And Kayleigh said that she was just sitting there in the bed defenseless, and she said Michael had his belt that he had taken off, and he started striking her on the back and below her waist area with this belt, and then he decided to hog tie her after he choked her with a belt for a little bit. And she said that she told Michael multiple times to stop, please stop, and she said that Michael completely ignored her request. She said the incident went on for 10 minutes and the kids heard her screaming and crying. I guess her 3 youngest children were home at the time, and Kayleigh's oldest 16-year-old daughter was at a party that Kayleigh had dropped her off at. And I guess the children heard her screaming and crying, and they started banging on her door, begging Michael to leave their mommy alone. And Kayleigh said that during the whole encounter, Michael seemed soulless, angry, unbothered, cold, and she said that there's just a huge disconnect during this whole encounter. She said, like, looking in his eyes, he pretty much looked like he had no soul. After striking and choking Kayleigh with the belt, Michael began to have intercourse with Kayleigh, and Kayleigh said that she did not resist, but she claims that she told Michael multiple times to please stop, which he did not. And during the incident, the kids ended up calling someone who showed up and banged on the door and yelled, which I'm assuming is probably the 16-year-old daughter, the oldest daughter. That's just pure assumption. After this person showed up and they were banging and yelling at the door, they claimed that Michael left the room and took Kayleigh's phone and car keys. And after okay, I'm confused about this part, because she claims that he had intercourse, and then in one part it says he left the room and took Kayleigh's phone and car keys. So did he leave the room and go to another room? Or did he leave the room and go back? Because then it says after intercourse, Michael went to sleep and woke up at 500 hours to leave. Before he left, he untied Kayleigh, and she did not report the incident to police, and she did not seek medical attention at the time. And she did do an interview about this, and she opened up about what happened. And then I had to ask Michael about the situation, because I just did an interview with Michael. It's like, okay, I got this interview coming out, and now you got these claims against you. What's going on? Well, he ended up denying the allegations. I asked him, I'm like, okay, Kayleigh is saying that you came to her house, you showed up, you S.A'd her, and he said, look, that's not even possible because I have a 9 p.m. curfew at my halfway house, which he did provide me the number for the RCC, which was the halfway house, and I was like, okay, I gotta make sure that I know what I'm talking about before I make these claims. So I called, and they did confirm that they do have a 9 p.m. curfew unless you're out for work, or unless you have a medical emergency. And then he did say, well, also Kayleigh is claiming in the police report that I Ubered over there at 11 p.m. at night, but he said that's impossible because he said I got my Jeep in August, so why would I need to Uber over there in September if I already had my vehicle? And Kayleigh did say in her interview, she said, yeah, Michael did not take an Uber, he did show up in his Jeep. So I don't know, I'm confused, like why they said Uber in the police report. Are they trying to say that Michael Ubered when he left? Is that what they really meant? I'm a little confused about that part. But Kayleigh responded, and the halfway house said that he couldn't leave past 9 p.m. But Kayleigh said that he got a 24-hour pass, which I didn't know that was a thing. And I guess if you have good behavior and if you're there long enough, you can get these 24-hour passes. And she claims that he got a 24-hour pass, and that's when he left. Then Michael shared these receipts of conversations that he had with Kayleigh. It doesn't say a date on this conversation, but he was in blue and Kayleigh was in the black or gray. He says, I haven't been prison talking to you. You left me, Kayleigh. And she said, one thing I'm not going to do is play this game with you. I left you because you effing abused me. And he said, I never touched you. And she said, so make sure you tell your attorney because I'll be coming after you for hospital bills from when you choked me out too. Because if you want to play hardball, we're going to play hardball. And he said, you told me to. And she said, I'm not saying that you R-word me, but you definitely choked me too hard. Because I guess they both kind of like to have rough sex, and she acts like that he took it too far. And then this is a conversation from November 13th of 2025 where he says, no, he doesn't come till right before or after. I guess this is a time where they hung out and he was about to miss his curfew, so he's freaking out. And she's like, we'll try to avoid stressing out and manifest a different outcome. Baby, you tore my ass. And he said, I'm hoping for the best. And she's like, I'm praying for you and manifesting a better outcome. Just tell them I work 12-hour days and I'm always working all the time. And she's trying to help him come up with excuses for him showing up late to the halfway house past his curfew. So here he is showing like, look, I definitely had a curfew, and if I didn't get there in time, I would get in trouble for it. So how was I there past 11? Then here's another conversation which was shared with me where Michael was like, sign me up, she said sign me up, talking about having some rough sex allegedly. And he said, well, if you die, it'll be an interesting eulogy. And she said, my funeral is planned already. And he said, we will adjust for new circumstances. And Kayleigh said, it has come to light that Kayleigh was a different kind of bitch. She enjoyed being choked so much that she was willing to die for it. She's classing the streets and trashing the sheets. A side to her that even blood thinners couldn't change. And then Mike said her husband asked the cops to return his belt because he said it has sentimental value. And yeah, she opened up more about these allegations in this second part of this interview she recently did with Kiki Kibitz, but she's pretty much claiming that he was on a 24-hour pass. He is denying that he ever showed up to Kayleigh's house and like this ever happened. And Kayleigh was claiming that there was another incident, I guess a few months before this, that she said where they were having sex and he took it a little too far. And I'm assuming that's where there's one conversations were from, when she was like, well, I'm not saying you R-word me, but you did a little too hard. And she said she did go to production about it in September, but they probably knew that they weren't going to be coming back anyways, since they're already split up at that point, or on the verge of splitting up. I guess he ended up filing for divorce in September. I thought it was in November, but I guess he filed in September. And I thought the divorce was finalized in November, but it wasn't actually finalized until March, because I guess Michael kept filing wrong at first and it kind of got drug out for a while, but it has now been finalized as of March. But you guys let me know what you think about all these allegations.